Yeah, so in terms of entitlement, we really need to ask the question, what is an entitlement? And we know an entitlement is something that you possibly getting that you either think you should be getting when you really shouldn't be getting it. Like you have the sense that it's your due when it's not your due. And the second thing is it something that you shouldn't even be getting? Like it's just being handed out to you. And the whole argument that's come up around entitlements that the Treasurer's brought up and the whole budget has brought up has been inside a framework of we don't have enough money, there's a scarcity of resources, the money has to be handed out, we have to be very careful about how we hand out the money, and we can't be handing out the money to all these bludgers basically who believe they're entitled to all this money when they're not. Now, the definition of the bludgers is restricted to the usual suspects in terms of entitlement. That is the people who are getting welfare. The standard definition of welfare is the people who are unemployed or on disability pensions, or even the middle class welfare, people who are getting assistance with childcare payments or family payments, or the things that we have become accustomed to calling welfare are the things that the Treasurer is referring to. Now, I don't have any problem with that per se, that maybe the budget can't afford to pay all these people all this money. Maybe things do have to be tightened up. But I would say the flip side of that argument is that if the Treasurer is going to make that argument, then you must ask the question, what about all the other forms of entitlement that aren't that obvious kind of welfare? And I'm referring to the welfare queens of our societies. The guys who really are gobbling up the welfare. The big corporate welfare queens. I'm talking about the billions and billions of dollars that are handed out to people on rorts, tax rorts, negative gearing, shifting money around the globe, transfer pricing. All the bailouts. The whole bailout mentality. The bailouts of the banks, the bailouts of just about every industry that finds itself in financial trouble. And then the biggest bailout of all is the one where the central bank, our central bank and all the central banks around the world and all the governments around the world all collude to drive interest rates to the bottom so that savers, prudent investors, hard workers can get penalised so that the leeches in society, the speculators, the gamblers, the tax dodgers, you want to call them whatever you like, right? They can all get very cheap money at the expense of all the hard workers. And this is not called entitlement. This is not called welfare. This is called good corporate behaviour. But the poor guy who can't find a job, who needs to go on the dole, well, that guy's a bludger. And I think this kind of dog whistling that those guys are bad guys and these guys are also on welfare, they've got entitlements, but that's the good kind of entitlements. We've now ended up in a situation where the capitalist economy, and don't forget these guys call themselves capitalists, eh? The capitalist economy has become so bastardized and so screwed up that every single thing that a capitalist economy should be doing has been distorted, and it's not doing it properly anymore. And it's not doing it to the extent now where even the price of money, even the printing of money, even the whole definition of money now has to start becoming bastardized just to keep this Frankenstein going. And I'll explain what I mean here to illustrate my point. In a capitalist society, and I say this because we started this whole discussion talking about why is there this argument about entitlement? Why? Because there's a shortage of money. Because the budget is under stress, because we've got debt and all this kind of stuff. Well, why have we ended up in a situation like that? We've ended up in a situation like that because at every opportunity the government is interfering and tinkering with what is supposed to be the capitalist process. They are handing out bailouts and boondoggles all over the place. Negative gearing here, special concessions there, rebates there, middle class welfare there. All these bribes, that basically political bribes. Taking money from one person to bribe another person is what's been going on. And now we've got ourselves into a situation where the money's running out. They've been given bribes for so damn long that there's no one left to leech off. Everyone now is expecting to be receiving bribes, not giving them. Everyone. That's an entitlement society. We all want our bit. None of us want to give anymore. We just want. And it gets to the point at the end of the road where you can't go any further. The only way now to expand this little pot is to drive down the cost of money so everyone can borrow more. And when they borrow more, you're creating money out of nothing. So now you can start handing it out again. Then when you reach the ceiling again, no one can borrow anymore because they're up to their eyeballs in debt. You've got to lower interest rates again so they can borrow more because the underlying economy is being killed. And why is it being killed? It's a capitalist economy, isn't it? What does a capitalist economy mean? Why is a capitalist economy better than a communist one or a fascist one? Or why? Why is it better? We are told it's better because the market knows best. What's the market? The market is millions and millions of consumers all making decisions. And the market is supposed to be the thing that decides the best way to make those decisions and the best way to allocate those resources. When you've got a scarcity of resources, let the market decide how to allocate that resource. Because we know that's the best way. But it's only the best way if the market can decide. And how does the market decide? It decides by pricing the goods and services in an economy. Something that's expensive means you're not supposed to be buying a lot of that, or if you do want to buy a lot of that, it's going to cost you a lot. Something that's cheap is supposed to encourage people to go there. It's cheap for a reason, because the market's decided that's cheap and that's expensive. That's what pricing is all about. And years and years and years of experience have told us that having the market decide that sort of thing, the level of prices, is much, much better than having kleptocrats, bureaucrats, maniacs, politicians, whatever, decide. Let the market decide. But we've got a crew in power all around the world who preach capitalism but practice cronyism. So the market's not deciding prices anymore. Prices are being decided by the central banks, like 5 of them. Think about it. In this whole world, there are like 15 people out there deciding the price of money for everyone else. The price of money. The single most important pricing signal in a capitalist economy is being decided by a bunch of academics, like a handful of them in the central banks around the world. And we are supposed to believe that that's a capitalist system and that that is a better system than having all the consumers of the world decide what's good for them. And you know why? That is why we've ended up in the poo that we are in. That is why nothing's being done about climate change. Nothing's being done about pollution. Nothing's being done about inequality and poverty and starvation and disease and all these problems around the world. Why? Because the market is not allowed to allocate resources to those places, because the powers that be have decided that what you should do, instead of being innovative, instead of hard work, instead of taking risks, instead of creating markets, what you should do is get free money and handouts from the central bank, go gamble with it, go speculate, go and create derivatives, go and muck around with that money because you're getting given it for free, because you're being allowed to gamble risk-free. So our economy is kaput. Wages go down, innovation goes down, everything's wrong. No one's investing in green energy. Nobody is solving any of the problems that we see around us. Education goes down, healthcare goes down, and what happens is the old trickle-down effect is supposed to save us all. Take all this money, print it, hand it out, give it to all the people at the top for free, and hope that some of it's going to flow downhill and actually we're all going to benefit as a result. Well, you want to know something? We're never going to benefit as a result, because those people up at the top of the tree who are all giving themselves all this free money have got no incentive whatsoever to share that money with anybody, because they're getting unlimited amounts of our money. They're getting given it for free. They can gamble with it. They can buy yachts with it. They can buy cars with it. They can buy real estate with it. They can have a royal old time with it. And nobody is going to come along and take it away from them. And no one's even going to question their motives. It's all being done in our interests. So the reason why I went on that whole thing, sort of going from entitlements to like money, the scarcity of money, and then like you know, how we've ended up in the situation we've ended up in, and now we've got the treasurer telling us that things are dire and so on. You know, they're all linked. What these guys need to understand is they just got to get out of the bloody way, and they've got to stop tinkering. If they let the market do its work, you know, let the market do its work. Let the market punish malinvestment. Let the market punish the pricks who have wasted, the pricks who are parasites. Let the market punish those who have got entitlements that are not entitled to those entitlements. The market will take care of that real quick if it's allowed to do it. What the politicians want to do is they don't want the market to deal with the entitlement problem. Do you know why? Because the market's going to deal with the entitlement problem, and that means everyone who's not entitled is going to lose their entitlement. Including them. They do not want their buddies to lose their entitlements. They want the guy on the dole, and they want the pensioner, and they want to pick and choose and cherry pick which entitlements are going to be punished, and they want to cherry pick which ones are going to be left there and rewarded. Now, that is not a market. That is a kleptocracy. That is crony capitalism. And that is our problem. If the politicians just let the market deal with it, it would all be over in a real hurry. And we would all get back to a system where, whether we like it or not, it may be very hard for some of us. It may be very hard for the country. It may be traumatic. But everyone will come away from it with a sense of fairness. Everyone got dealt the whip, huh? The market comes along. The market deals with it. Sorry, you can't borrow all that money because interest rates went up. Sorry, you can't have all those entitlements because we can't afford it.
And you can't have all those investment houses.
And exactly. In other words, let the market decide. In other words, if you want to have 5 investment houses, who am I to stop you? But why should I subsidize you? You want those entitlements? Earn them. Earn them. Don't go get given them by some buddy politician who's taking it off a pensioner to give it to you. Because that is not the way it's supposed to be. And I think in the back of their minds, Australians don't really know why they're so annoyed by this budget.
Yeah, they haven't worked it out.
They haven't worked it out yet, but this is the core of it. It is, they know, they can see that what's happening is the money is being taken from those who can least afford it and being given to those who can most afford it, because the ones who can most afford it just happen to be the ones who are in the politicians' ears. And it galls me when the politicians pretend that it's because there's a budgetary problem, or because the market this, or the market that, or that's how capitalism works, or we can't afford it. That's not what the problem is. The problem is because we are not letting the market do what it's supposed to do. And we've now ended up in a situation where everything's become so distorted that the only way to keep this thing going is to lower interest rates down and down and down, and to brainwash people that lower interest rates are the way forward. Lower interest rates are the way forward. If lower interest rates are the way forward, if you think that that's the only way forward, then the way forward is a world where there is no need to invest, no need to innovate, no need to work hard. All you need to do is get your hands on the free money and gamble with it. Now, if all of us did that, everything would stop. The only future in a capitalist system is where there is investment, where there is capital, where people do understand that hard work is rewarded, where people do understand that really bad decisions are punished. Because if you are living in a world where it's supposed to be really expensive to burn coal, because burning coal is going to kill our children, you can't afford to have a political system that rewards people for burning coal at the expense of those who are trying to develop green energy. And a market would not allow that. But crony capitalism, that's how it survives. And that's where our problem is. And the sooner we all wake up to that, the better. Because if we don't wake up to that, and we allow these few bureaucrats to control the price of everything, money, define what inflation is, They take food out, they take fuel out, they take everything out. They all tell us we're all doing so well. They all tell us we've got all these entitlements. They are trying to play us all like puppets. That is not capitalism. Capitalism is the diametric opposite of that. And you know what? If we had a capitalist system, it'd be working. We would be finding solutions to climate change. We would be finding solutions to poverty. We would be finding solutions to problems, because that's what capitalism does best. We know that's what it does best.